Hello, everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel, CareersTalk. I'm Sunan Sharma, the host of this workshop on conflict management. Friends, our channel aims to provide hands-on, live, practical, and valuable information that can be utilized further by various Scrum Masters. Today, we have a hands-on workshop on conflict management where you will learn about managing your teams in various conflict situations. Before we start, I humbly request that you appreciate the efforts and time invested by our team members to present this session. So kindly show your support by hitting the like button and sharing this content with all of your other friends, colleagues. And friends, if you require the presentation and the template used in this particular workshop, kindly leave your email in the comment section. And please do not send any request via email to me directly. I will not able to reply. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Priyanka, who will guide us through this particular session. Hey, Priyanka, over to you.
Thank you, Sunan. Thank you for inviting me again on the channel to talk about conflict. And thank you to the rest of the team to take out your personal time and attend this session, which I think would be helpful. And I'm sure it'll add value to your professional environment when you will encounter any of the conflict situations. So thank you again. I express my gratitude to everyone over here to join the session and learn something from over here. Let me share my screen and then we can start with the session without any further delay. Sunan, yes, can we start
Yes,
it?
please share your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Let me know when you all can see my screen.
Yes, Priyanka, it's visible.
Yeah, Priyanka, we can see your screen, yes.
Okay, so as Sunan already talked about, today we are going to talk about conflict management, and we are going to learn this with the help of a tool which is designed by Thomas-Kilmann. The name is Thomas-Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument, TKI as we call it. And it talks about various modes through which any individual who is encountering a conflicting situation can handle it. Let's see what we have in the agenda today. So we are going to talk about what is conflict, the exercise, the instrument that is designed by Thomas-Kilmann, and how to understand this conflict model then. And lastly, we will be talking about these 5 modes that are defined by Thomas again. So let's quickly start it. I would like to start this by understanding from this group that what comes to your mind when you hear this word conflict. Let's hear it from the audience. What do you feel when you hear the word conflict?
Difference in opinion.
Wife.
Okay.
Friction between two teams or two
Okay.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Disagreements.
Okay, that I think those are really good answers and right on the spot. And what do you think, is conflict good or bad?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Constructive
Yeah.
conflict
Sometimes
is very good.
I think if it is a healthy conflict, then it is always good.
Okay, so it's never a bad thing, or it's always good whenever we have a conflict?
Till the time it does not turn personally, it is always good. I mean,
Okay.
positive outcomes, if it helps, it's good.
Okay.
And like it should be addressed as soon as possible, and that then like we should not allow it to go out of the hand. So whether it is destructive or constructive, we should address it.
Surely, Saheli. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable inputs. Let's see a simple definition of what do we understand by conflict. So as a simple English meaning of conflicts, it's a disagreement or difference in viewpoints or ideas, approach in doing something, some preferences or concerns between two people. Or it could be a struggle within ourselves as well. We may be going in a conflict with ourselves. Now, we talked about whether a conflict is good or bad. Definitely, whenever we are into a conflicting situation, It gives turmoil to our physical and mental health, and we are sometimes disturbed and too much occupied into our thoughts when we have a conflict. However, if explored and into a collaboration mode, it is a gateway for our personal growth and transformations. It helps in better communication as well as solutions to problem. So if we collaborate well, we talk about it, we discuss it, we can come out with so many solutions to different problems that we have into our day-to-day life. So it is good and it is bad. Depends upon what kind of situation and prejudice we are into. Moving further, next we have this exercise. So there is an Excel that is attached and I'll be sharing it right away. And before I share it, let me give you an idea about, or maybe the instructions, what we are supposed to do. So Thomas-Kilmann has designed this exercise, which is a set of 30 pair of statements that describes possible behavior responses. So every question has two statements, A or B, that best describes your character or your behavior in a particular conflict situation. So in many cases, neither A nor B statement would be typical of your behavior. You will feel that I behave this or this sometimes, but you have to select the response that you would more likely to use during that situation. So the best suited in a particular conflict. Also, these statements that will be there in those 30 questions, they will get repeated in different pairs. So you have to select the most likely response for every exclusive pair, right? So once we are done with that, we will talk about how to identify your results or your most dominating behavior that you would possess in a particular situation, in a particular conflict. So I'll explain it a little later once you are done with exercise. Let us take 10 minutes of time and you fill up these exercise. Identify all the responses, either A or B, for these 30 questions, and then we will talk about responses. And as Sunan shared, whosoever is watching it online and they want to also do this exercise, practice it and learn about their behavior and what is their most dominating behavior during a conflict, they can put in their email ID within the comments and we'll share with you this Excel and the instructions to perform this exercise.
Yeah, and you are opening up, right? Just to showcase this Excel sheet, Priyanka.
Yeah. Let me also open up the Excel. Okay, I haven't opened it already.
You can see your lot of pictures.
Where it is. Sorry, I opened it, but then I thought I would be sharing it, so I closed it.
Just to give an idea, like to the other team.
Yeah, okay. So this is the Excel wherein you have these 30 questions. Each question has two responses, two statements, A and B. You have to just identify how will you respond in a particular conflicting situation. So think of any conflict you have encountered in your past, in your personal or maybe in your professional life, and you will, how would you respond in that particular situation, and identify whether it's A or B for that situation.
So for example, Priyanka, just to understand so that the other people who is watching this video on our channel. So for example, the very first one, there are times when I let other take responsibility for solving the problem. Rather than negotiating the things on which we disagree, I try to stress those things on which we both agree. So let's say I choose A, for example, right? So where should I put A? In C column?
Okay, so once you're done with identifying either A or B in this sheet, then you have to go to this responses tab and you will see these 5 columns here, which says competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. For example, for question number 1, you have chosen A. So you will go to this particular column, delete this A and replace it by number 1, right? So every row has A or B listed in one of these 5 columns. Whatever answer you choose, go to that particular answer, either A or B, and replace it with 1. Once we are done with all the 30 questions, replacing either A or B with number 1. It will give you a total in the end. So I wrote 1 in this column and then this column. So it gave me this number. For example, if I keep putting 1, 1, 1 here, it will automatically sum it up and you'll get a maximum mark in one of these columns, and then a second maximum and a third maximum. So this will tell you your behavior about how you are behaving in a particular situation.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka. Okay, so I think now we can all go and fill this. We already have this Excel sheet. Okay, so let's take 5 minutes time, Priyanka, and the other people can start sharing their
Sure.
viewpoint on this. Okay. Okay, I think we have done with that exercise. So let's go with Sahili. Sahili, you want to share your screen and share your hidden identity?
Sure, sure. Just let me know if it is visible properly.
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes, we can see your responses. We can see the Excel sheet right now, Sahili.
Okay, so I have marked based on the situation which I have failed or experienced, or my how I react on those kind of situation. I have marked here, and accordingly in the response section, I have replaced it with my points, 1 point each. And I have also categorized based on the score. So I can see I am more accommodating, then collaborating, then compromising, then competing, then avoiding. So this is my result. And one thing I just want to share here, while doing this activity, I got a learning that there are few points which I was selecting, keeping in mind that this kind of behavior is a collaborating behavior. But when I came to the response sheet, I found that this is actually an accommodating behavior, and sometimes it's actually an avoiding behavior. So that's a good learning part for me. And I was doing this in my personal or professional life, thinking that I am actually collaborating with the people, but not that is not the case. So that's a great learning. And I will use this with my teams as well. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah.
Great, Sahili. Thanks for that. Okay, so let's go to Dilip. You want to share what is your outcome? I mean, yeah,
Sunan, do you want me to share, or can we directly present
you can
it?
directly.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
present it.
So I have completed this activity too. So my score, which I have scored more, is in terms of compromising. So that means I am the points whatever I put down comes around 9 points for me, which is for maximum for this list. Then in this order is accommodating. That means it shows me that I'm more of compromising and accommodative person in my team. So that's fine. That's my results from the sheet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Sunan,
So,
besides Sonal.
Just 1 second, Sonal. So, Sunan, before we go into results for other people, can we just talk about those 5 modes and how the model calculates these things, so that once we look at somebody's results, we are able to understand it?
Sure, sure. Go ahead. You
Okay.
can share your screen, then we'll come back to other people.
When you can see my screen again.
Yes, you can do F5.
Okay, so since we all have done this exercise and Sahili has just shared her results that she was accommodating and then collaborating and compromising. So this is how Thomas-Kilmann has defined the model that he has defined. So he talks about people's behavior on 2 particular behaviors, which is assertiveness and cooperativeness. And these 5 modes, competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating, it tells us that how much the person is assertive versus how much the person is cooperative in a particular situation. As you see it here, assertiveness means the extent to which an individual attempts to satisfy his or her own concerns. So in a conflict situation, for example, I am in a conflict with Sahili, and then I am trying to put my point first and I want my wish to be fulfilled first. Then I am more of an assertive person. I'm not trying to understand other person's concerns. Similarly, cooperativeness, which is on x-axis, it talks about the extent to which an individual attempts to satisfy other person's concern first. So he is he's showing that generosity, and he is putting down his wishes and trying to accommodate the wishes of other person. So that's how assertiveness and cooperativeness are defined. And if we see it here in this chart, you see a person who is avoiding a conflict is neither assertive nor cooperative. So he's less of assertive, less of cooperative, and he is just trying to run away from the conflict. Similarly, if we talk about competing, it means the person is trying to be winning the conflict. He wants his wishes to be fulfilled. So he's more of assertive. He wants his wishes to be fulfilled. However, he is less cooperative. He's not trying to understand the concerns of other person. If we talk about accommodating, that is a person who is kind of giving a charity and then leaving her wishes and then trying to fulfill the wishes of other person. And there could be reasons why he's trying to fulfill the wishes of other persons first. Similarly, compromising, which is like a common ground where they try to figure out a solution which is like equally benefiting to both of them, not 100% benefit or not 100% win-win for both the parties, but yeah, they are into a compromising, taking certain inputs from one person and certain from other person. And last is collaborating, which is a 100% win-win situation wherein the person is both assertive and cooperative. So they are trying to work together in collaboration and identifying solutions which can work for both of them. So they are taking more time, they are learning, they are understanding perspective from different other people so that they can collaborate and get out to a result which is beneficial for both of them. Now, I think there were a few more people who wanted to share their results, so we can go ahead with them. I think Sonal was talking about it. So Sonal, just share what you were sharing about your results.
Sure, Priyanka, thank you. So my results look like I've scored the highest in accommodating, 9, followed by compromising, collaborating, avoiding, and competing, which is 0. So this is how my score looks like. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sonal.
My highest score is like collaborating. So I think, yeah, and then compromising, and finally I have like accommodating.
Okay, so it's a curve like this. That's nice. And I think many of the people are falling into this category based on whosoever have shared their results. However, there's anybody saying something?
Yeah, Priyanka, can I share that?
Sure, Neha, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So my results are basically my most dominating behavior is compromising, which scores 9, followed by collaborating, which scores 8. So basically compromising I prefer because it's a partially win-win result. So where we can just prefer to listen the others, both the parties' point of view, and set a middle ground to achieve the desired result without wasting much time for a small issues.
Okay, nice. Thank you for sharing that, Neha. Okay, so there's one disclaimer here that none of these answers are right or wrong. None of these behaviors are right or wrong. We have to have these different behaviors or different modes depending upon the situation we are into. So if we are avoiding a conflict, it doesn't mean that we are doing something wrong. It is the need of the hour, need of the situation that we have to avoid that particular kind of conflict. So again, I just want to share that none of these answers are right or wrong. It's that everybody has different dominating characteristic. And it also tells us that it is not it tells us that none of these, we cannot, sorry, let me regain what I was saying. So I was trying to say that even if our dominating behavior is compromising or collaborating, it does not mean that we cannot fit into any other mode. Anybody can behave in any particular situation. It's again, depending upon situation or whatever we have acquired skills over a period of time, that some of these behaviors are dominating behaviors. For example, if you are working as a developer and there is a argument going on over sharing the progress of the work, you might not be trying to collaborate there. You might be avoiding it because your focus right now in that situation is to complete the work. However, if you are working as a Scrum Master, you need to have a good collaboration within the team. You want your team to be self-organizing. In that case, your most dominating characteristic at that time would be collaborating. So again, it depends upon our situations that how we are reacting in a particular mode in a conflicting situation. I hope it
Can
makes
I
sense.
share my results?
Sure, Chitra, go ahead.
I have scored highest in accommodating, after that collaborative, compromising, and competing and avoiding. I think I'm accommodating lots of issues, looks like.
Okay, and over our further slides, we are also going to talk about some of the use cases or scenarios when we should adopt a particular type of behavior. So more to learn in the further slides. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone left to share their results?
Priyanka, may I quickly share my result?
Sure, Bilal, go ahead.
So for me, I thought I'm more compromising, but I turned out to be more accommodating.
Okay.
So I got 12 in accommodating, and then the rest they just spread out. So it's kind of a shock. I thought I'm more collaborative person, which comes out to be, yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
the
it depends.
exercise tells us the real personality. So based on these names,
Very
we
true.
figure out that we are more of competing or collaborating, but we actually
Yeah.
answer those questions. It tells us how we are
Okay.
handling a such conflicting situation. So
That's
that's great to know results from different people out
Mm.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, who
Priyanka,
left?
can I quickly share my results?
Go ahead, Rashmi.
Yeah, thank you. So I came out the highest in compromising and then accommodating and then collaborating. So thank you for this eye-opening Excel sheet and this exercise. It's really very, very useful. So extremely grateful to you. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Rashmi, for the kind words. Yes, the agenda or idea behind the exercise is people to learn and improve in their professional environment.
Now, Priyanka, I have a small question over here.
Sure, Sonam.
How we can use this exercise with our team? Because ultimately, all are the Scrum Master. So what benefit as a team or as a Scrum Master we can get from this exercise if you want to share?
Sure. So if we, after doing the exercise, like it's an eye-opener for some of us who thought that they are compromising, but it came out that they are accommodating. So if we know our behavior and if we figure out later in, like in the slides, when we are talking about uses of these behaviors. So if we know what is our dominating personality, while the need of R is something, then we can try to mold our behavior or adjust our behavior in a way that it's a win-win situation for everybody around there. For example, talking about avoiding, people would find it here from this graph that avoiding could not be a good handling mode. However, if there are other pressing issues that you need to work upon, then there could be some conflicts that you need to avoid. So once you have that clarity that in what situation, how would you behave and what's your dominating character that you need to hold in a particular situation, it will really help them improve and grow themselves as a person, as well as the people they are working for, the team, the developers they're working for.
In fact, you will also get a good idea that, okay,
Yes.
what is the personality of my team member specific if he's
exactly
or avoiding. So maybe you can also work with him one-to-one, and then maybe you can work it out, something like that.
Yep.
Okay, great. I think we can move on if we have done with this, Priyanka.
Sure. So let me talk about this little story you might have heard of, which is about two chefs and a lemon who are fighting for a lemon in a restaurant's kitchen. They want to make a dish, separate dish, and they both need the lemon, and there is a scarcity of lemon in the kitchen right now. There are customers waiting outside. So if we are taking this conflict as an example, and if the people are taking this conflict as competing, then only one of the chef handled this conflict as competing, then only one of them will get that lemon and only one dish will be prepared. The result would be that we will be losing out on a customer because the other dish won't be prepared. If both the chefs turn out to avoid this conflict and both are running away that, no, I don't want to get into this conflict. In that case, none of them will use the lemon and we'll lose out on all our customers because none of the dish will be prepared out of that lemon. Similarly, I think if we take if one of the chef here take accommodating approach, then he will try to give that lemon to other person. In that case, again, we lose out on one dish because he is giving the lemon to other person. There'll be only one dish that would be prepared. Again, losing out on customer. Compromising is that we are trying to find a middle ground. So maybe they'll talk and they'll share the lemon between them. In that case, both the dishes will be prepared. However, the quality will be impacted because it required entire one lemon and they used only half of it. Collaborating, if they try to collaborate, try to understand the situation, what they need, how they want to use the lemon, and maybe they figure out that one of the chef need the zest or the outer part of the lemon and the other one just need the juice. In that case, if that kind of collaboration or integration happened between the two chefs, then both of them would be able to make their dish perfectly well because they need different ingredients of same lemon. So this is how one good example to understand this model, that how collaboration helps and how avoiding can turn out to not coming up with any situations or any helpful outcomes. Yeah, I think it's understandable. Moving further, let us talk about these modes in a little more detail, and then some of the scenarios wherein avoiding type of mode could be helpful. So avoiding, as we have already discussed, the original problem is not directly addressed or resolved because we haven't talked about it. So it's a unassertive, uncooperative type of mode. And what are the uses? For example, if there are some unimportant issues and there are some other more important pressing issues that you want to work upon, then definitely you will avoid that conflict and focus on other higher important issues. If you have less power, you're frustrated that you cannot get anything out of that conflict because you do not have authority to pursue it. So in that case, you'll try to avoid that conflict. Costly, if you figure out that the cost of implementing the solution of that conflict outweighs the actual conflict solution, then you will definitely try to avoid it. When you need to let people cool down to reduce tension to a productive level and to regain perspective and composure from the team. When gathering more information outweighs the advantages of an immediate decision. So these are some of the uses when you will tend to avoid. I would now like to ask the group if they want to share any example or situations that they can identify from the real life, or any questions on this type of mode of conflict.
Yeah, so Priyanka, I have one question. So basically, I went through a situation where I was working on a high priority bug fix. So basically, that issue was very critical and that I have to fix as early as possible. Client was waiting for that. And on the same day, I got a promotion and my friend was also gunning for the same. But now the thing is, the situation was very awkward between us. She was not at all talking with me, not at all speaking with me outside the team meetings. So I just want to know how we can deal with such kind of scenarios.
Okay, so I think here it falls into first category, I believe, where there are some other more important issues that you wanted to work upon first rather than looking at the conflict. So avoiding in that situation could help, and then later on you can figure out the appropriate time when you can work out with the person, collaborate with the person to sort it out.
Yeah. So, okay. Thanks so much.
Bang on. Thank you, Neha.
Priyanka, I also have a situation to discuss and share. So, for example, anyone joins an organization new, or me as a Scrum Master joined in a new organization. So, one day all of a sudden, someone comes and looks like we might get into a conflict mode. So they're also not aware of the background, why the discussion is changing out into a conflict. So do you think they're getting into a responding mode and not reacting and avoiding the conflict and get into the delays perspective can be a better example for this handling situation?
So if I try to understand it correctly, there is a new person coming in and he has different perspective than what is the discussion already going on. Is it what you're saying?
For example, I as a Scrum Master join a new organization, and all of a sudden, during my discussion, someone gets into a conflicting mode with me. So under such situation, I can just avoid getting into a conflict and have a better understanding of the processes or perspective. So you think avoiding can be a better
I think it depends upon the situation. Since you have joined the organization as a new Scrum Master, you do not know the culture out there. Maybe I think definitely avoiding is a good idea at this point, because being a new Scrum Master, you would first try to build a rapport, try to understand perspective from different people out there. And later on, if you really disagree on what other person was saying, you can go back and clarify it within a group. Since you've joined new, avoiding could help. Yep. Thank you, Sonal. Okay, any other question, or shall we move ahead?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. Next is competing. So competing is again participants seeking to reach their own preferred outcomes at the expense of others individual. They're thinking of their self first. So it's an assertive and uncooperative approach. It's power-oriented. It's standing up for your rights or simply trying to win a situation. And we definitely need this kind of handling a conflict in many situations. For example, when you being an authority in an organization want to take a quick decision, for example, an emergency. For example, we had pandemic and suddenly we were all supposed to work from home, and we have to take our laptops on that particular day and start working from home next day. So that was a quick decision that was required, and there was no scope of listening to other people's concerns and how they feel about it. Because we had to take the decision, there was an emergency. Other could be if there are issues, there are unpopular courses of action that need implementing. For example, we need to have cost cutting, or we need to implement some unpopular rules in the organization. If that kind of situation occurs, then the leadership have to be into competing mode and just telling the audience about what could be the benefits of taking these actions. But yes, they have to be competing in those situations. On issues vital to companies' welfare, when you know you are right, you have to take such competing mode. When you need to protect yourself from people who try to take advantage of your non-competitive behavior. So during a conflict, if you figure out that other person is trying to take advantage because you generally tend to accommodate other people's concerns, and you feel that your point is more valid, then in that case, you have to turn yourself into a competing mode. These are some of the use cases where we can act into a competing mode. Any questions? Any conflicting behavior somebody observed for this competing situation? Anybody?
Yeah, Priyanka, I observed a similar kind of behavior. So by transitioning a team from waterfall to agile, a team which is like working into waterfall from last 10 to 12 years, so making them understand sometimes get really difficult, because they sometimes get into defensive mode, or they have different perspective to agile, not willing to transition. So that time, do you think this can help?
Yes, definitely. Since you're a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, and your intention is to create that mindset in the group of people that use Agile practices, and what could be the possible advantages of using this kind of project management method, then even if people are defensive, you have to be competing and you have to help them understand the advantages of this. But initially imposing some of the things like start doing the ceremonies would definitely help. So competing could be right approach in that situation. Thank you for sharing that, Sonal, again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or shall we go on?
I think I also have one question or one kind of scenario that I've experienced in my work, and maybe I can just share that with you as well. So
Sure, Bilal.
convincing the senior management, I think that could also come in the competing mode, like convincing them to turn to agile or convincing the team members to turn up for the retrospective and become more open and give more retro points. And I try to hear them. I try to play a little game so that they can be more cooperative in terms of, otherwise they just lose their interest. So I have to be very forceful. Sometimes that, the sharp timings, and we have the working agreement that they should be adhered. So I think the computing could be also useful in such scenarios where the discipline is maintained, I believe.
Yep, definitely.
Mm.
Thank you, Bilal, for sharing that scenario. Okay, I think we can move ahead now. Let's talk about the third mode, which is accommodating. And as we have already discussed, it's a person using style which put aside their own goals in the favor of other person. So they're putting aside their own goals. So it's an assertive behavior that they're not thinking about themselves first, but it's cooperative approach. They are thinking the other people concerns first. It's opposite of competing entirely. Competing, we were thinking about ourselves first. It's selfless generosity and charity. It's obeying other person's order. Now, what are the some of scenarios where this kind of handling mode could help? When you realize over the discussion that you are wrong, so to give other person a fair chance to put yourself into a position to learn something new, this kind of behavior could be used because you realize that you are wrong and other person's viewpoint is more appropriate. When issue is more important to other person, when you realize that for you, this thing or this particular ask that you are discussing can wait and you see it's important for other person, then in that case, you could be accommodating. Social credits for later issue, it means when you need social credits, when you want to gel up with that person for some other later issues, which might be more important for you. So you may be accommodating for that particular situation. Then preserving harmony and avoiding disruption are especially important. You want to maintain the harmony and you see the situation that I have to accommodate this conflict. That could be one scenario. And when you want to help your employees develop by allowing them to experiment and learn from their mistakes. So you see that the other person approach is not right, but then at the same time, you want them to learn and experiment new things. In those scenarios, you could accommodate their way of thinking or their pattern and then see the outcomes. So these are some of the possible use cases. There could be more. These are ones that I could thought of, and these are really helpful, I believe. Any questions on the slide or this mode?
Yeah, it's not a question, Priyanka, but I feel like the conflict normally we used to see between dev team and PO, right? Maybe to see the Jira board and feels like the capacity of the dev team was not borne out and they are less work comparing to the Jira board. And when the PO will raise to the team saying like you have not done much work in the sprint, so that is kind of like conflict what I feel, where when the dev team can able to prove their efforts what they did which was not listed in the Jira board but it was outside, no doubt, maybe as a scrum master we will guide them, coach them how to showcase or openness more on that area. But when the PO get to know like, okay, really the dev team has put more efforts and they have did the work which was not listed in the Jira board because of some reason, but so, and he or she could realize that it was a mistake asking this question at these situations. I feel that is kind of like accommodating, right?
Yep. I think that's a good example of first category when the PO realized that he is wrong and he understood it later while we had the conversation within the team. He realized that he was wrong and that's how he accommodated the conflict. So
Exactly.
nice example. Thank you for sharing, Manoj.
Priyanka, I have a similar example with the PO itself, but it was the QE team. And in this situation, the QE team was having situations where they were trying to do back-to-back releases. So usually the dev team does the development and then it passes on to the QE team, and then they have to test in different environments. But when you have to test in different environments, they get burnt out if there are back-to-back releases and there are a number of stories that they have to go and test in different environments. So they raised this concern in a sprint retrospective. And when we communicated with the product owner about this, and she understood that the team is getting burnt out because of so much work, which is going more than their capacity. And due to the pressure from the stakeholders that the PO was facing, she was trying to put it on to the team also. As a Scrum Master, I went ahead and spoke to the product owner and explained the situation that we need to respect the team's capacity, and we need to make sure that the team is not getting burnt out and they are having equal spaced out releases. So the solution was that we go ahead and meet with the team and then come to a conclusion that, yeah, we need to accommodate with the releases and not get the pressured from the stakeholders or from the business. Yes, we need to deliver the commitment, but in a better manner. So the PO apologized and she was very helpful trying to accommodate into this situation.
Yeah. Thank you, Rashmi. I think that's a great example of, again, accommodating mode of conflict. Yeah. Thank you for the wonderful examples people are sharing over here, and that too from their real life. So I think it would be helpful for the people who are also watching it online. Okay.
Yes, we
Moving
can
on.
use all these as our interview questions. All
Yeah,
these.
definitely.
Sure.
Compromising, which is our fourth handling mode as per Thomas-Kilmann instrument, which is equal level of cooperation and assertiveness at a moderate level. As we saw from that story we talked about, the chefs divided the lemon among themselves. So that's kind of a middle ground they are trying to identify. So it's intermediate in between assertiveness and cooperativeness, middle ground, splitting the difference, exchanging concessions, and seeking a quick middle ground position. So where can we use this mode? When goals are moderately important, but not worth the effort of potential disruption involved in using more assertive modes. So the goals are still important, but if we get into competing mode or accommodating mode, it'll create problems because it's important for both of us, and we don't have that time of collaboration in those situations. Compromising could help. When two opponents with equal power are strongly committed to mutually exclusive goals, maybe as in labor management bargaining, so both are equally committed. So we have to find a middle ground to resolve the conflict. When you want to achieve a temporary settlement of a complex issue, we might have seen this into our organizations, that we could turn out to a temporary settlement many times when there are multiple issues and complex issues going around. When you need to arrive at an expedient solution under time pressure, we have lesser time, we want to figure out, we both are wanting to achieve that, it's important for both the parties, so we turn out to find a middle ground for a conflict like this. Any examples that anybody would like to share over here for this?
For the compromising, I believe it mostly happens with me when there's a change request comes in from the client. So this compromising situation, a lot happens between me and the product owner, and discussing with the teams and everything. So this is quite useful in terms of those kind of scenarios when there's a certain change that has come in, and we take out certain story points and try to accommodate this if there's an urgency. So I believe the compromising can be suited for such kind of scenarios.
Definitely. Yep.
Priyanka, I have a situation. Tell me if that is compromising. In our team, one of our team member, he was not available last week, and other team attended certain meetings of which he hasn't got any progress updates. And the same situation repeated this week as well. And this team member got annoyed and irritated and reached out to me, being the Scrum Master, talking about this situation, like he's not getting the progress on the meetings and the work items the team is working on. So, and he was reluctant of my suggestions. Then I had to reach out to the other team members and bring them to the compromise solution temporarily for that time being, so that the work is moving on. So this was the situation I had to face, and it was like, for me, I had to compromise between two parties.
Yep. So since I think it fits into a situation when you do not have to, when you are under time pressure and you have to find out a solution for the time being, and you have you turned out to use compromising situation, which is kind of finding a middle ground to satisfy both the parties.
Yes.
Yep. So that makes sense. Anybody else would want to talk about any scenario for compromising? Okay, I'll take the silence as no, and we can move further. Last mode is collaborating, when both sides creatively work towards a solution which meets the objective and goals of all the people involved. So win-win situation, as we saw in the story. It's assertive, it's cooperative, it's finding an alternative that meets both sets of concerns in a conflict, confronting and trying to find a creative solution by collaborating, by discussing about the ideas. What could be the possible uses when we want to find out an integrative solution to a problem? So we use this last mode we talked about, which is compromising. We could have used collaborating there, but it is time consuming. And when we have some time constraints and some other uses we talked about, in that case, we have to sometimes turn out to be compromising. But when we have time and we can work it out together to find out a solution, then definitely collaborating would help. We can find out an integrative solution together. Because again, when the objective, other thing is, when the objective is to learn, when we want to work together, identify different solutions and figure out a new solution to a problem. So we can invest that time, collaborate together, discuss about different perspectives and opinions of people to get to a solution which is a win-win for both the parties. Merge insights from people with different perspectives on a problem. That's, I think, the same thing. Gain commitment by incorporating other concerns into a consensual decision. When we want to be committed to solving a problem, so you are trying to incorporate concerns of other people also, so you can reach out to a consensus. Work through hard feelings that have been interfering into a relationship. So whenever you have some hard feelings with somebody, you want to resolve that, that has been interfering with the relationship. In that case, you can turn out into a collaborative mode, work together, find out solutions, and can improve your relationship as well. Yeah, these are some of the uses of collaborating. Again, back to audience, if any questions or any scenarios that they want to share.
Priyanka, I had one from my team where we are working in a safe environment where two arts are there, which they have got a situation where one art is providing us in the requirements and other art doesn't have a track about it, saying that how they are getting this requirement and how it is getting it resolved. And the art which is receiving side, I'm from that art where where we tend to know that whether there is anything which we have to work and deliver for them, and what are the timelines. We didn't know about that. So finally we came up into a common place, say that we'll have an weekly cross art discussions where we will be able to pick up those items, whatever we had it coming from that art, and present it, saying that, okay, this is how we have progressed it. These, according to your timelines, we are delivering it and we are progressing. So we both got a chance to collaborate each other, and we are doing well.
Yep. A perfect example of collaboration, I would say, where both the arts met together, discussed about their concerns so that they can find out an integrative solution. Everybody is on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Helpful. Thank you for sharing.
I have a situation that I faced too, Priyanka, and like to share that. So it was very similar to the story that you shared in the beginning about the lemon. So here the lemon was a Pega instance that two teams were sharing, and there were two QE teams who were working on a very critical work stream that time, and the deliverables were high priority, and they had to share between the instance between them for each environment. So when certain stories for one team are in the lower environment and the other team is trying to work on the higher environment, they have to share the time. But they were not collaborating with each other and communicating with each other with how they can share that instance, the timings between that. And there was no scrum master for the other team. So when this situation came forward in our team, and as a scrum master, I made sure that, okay, we have to collaborate with them. We have to go ahead and let them know that, okay, this is what, because otherwise we are ending up having spillovers of our stories. So when the team was understanding the situation, they went ahead by themselves and spoke to the QE team from the other team. And they came to a conclusion that, okay, we will have shared timings for both the instance. So the offshore team, who is ever from our team, will have their times, and when it's on site and when the team is not working in the offshore hours, we will be having the instance for the other team, the opposite team. So it was very helpful when they sat together and collaborated and came to a conclusion.
Yeah. Another good example of collaboration, I would say. Together, they were able to find out a integrative solution where they can both use the instance and turn out to be win-win for both of them. Thank you again for Rashmi for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Priyanka, I also had a situation in my organization. In my organization, I had conflict between two teams. Like I had one team in India, the other team was in US. So due to the time difference, the offshore team felt that they are attending meeting in odd hours, which they have come up to me. So as a scrum master, what I did, I make sure that everyone is aware of the time zone, and requested them to add second time zone in the calendar and plan accordingly. So I thought of this is a good idea for collaboration, and it was a win-win situation for me. So this is how I collaborated with both the team members.
Yep. Definitely, when the issue is important and we want to understand how we can identify a solution wherein we can effectively resolve the problem in hand, collaborating really helps. Thank you again, Chetna, for sharing that.
Welcome, Priyanka.
Okay, with that, I think we are in the end of discussing all the modes that were defined by Thomas-Kilmann. Next, I think I would like to talk about conclusion or some of the takeaways that a team can take from here, and the people looking at this video watching this video can take away from this session is that all these 5 modes are useful in some situations. Each represent a set of useful social skills. There is no wrong or right mode that we should opt. People behavior changes over time depending on the situation they are into. So none of these modes are good or bad. All of them are equally important and possesses different social skills. Another one is everyone can use all these 5 conflict handling modes. So the exercise we did, we were able to figure out our most dominating characteristic. However, that does not mean that we cannot possess other handling modes. No one cannot be described by just a single rigid style of dealing. It's just that that's our dominating behavior. We develop more skills in those modes and therefore tend to rely on them more. However, some of them definitely have a clear favorite as well, which we use in every situation. Lastly, I would like to say that conflict behaviors you use are the result of both your personal and predispositions and the requirements of the situations, like we already talked about, in which you will find yourself. So in a particular situation, you might be competing because you need to take a quick decision. However, that could not be your most dominating character. So it entirely depends upon your situation you are entering. So these are some of the takeaways that I wanted people to gather from this session. I hope it will add value and you will try to implement handling these different situations in your professional as well as personal life, because conflict is something we keep encountering day in, day out with the people around we are working with our near and dears, with our professional peers. So I hope it will be able to add value. With that, I would say thank you. That is it that I wanted to present today. Over to you, Sunand, or if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Priyanka. So you can unshare your screen if you wish.
Sure.
Okay, so I would like to thank Priyanka and each one of you for attending this workshop on conflict management. Personally, I have gained a great deal of knowledge and insight from this particular session, and I hope all of you as well. And for those who are interested in participating in future group sessions like this, you can put your name and email address in the comment section, and we will make sure that I will contact you before the next session. And additionally, I would be grateful if you could like and subscribe to our channel, and that will definitely going to help us to provide such a valuable content like this and hosting similar events like this. So thank you once again to all of you who have attended this particular session and participated in this workshop. Thanks everyone. And if you want to share anything, we can go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Sunand said, that liking the sessions gives us motivation to create more such sessions. We get that motivation that people are liking it, people are getting value out of it. So let's do something real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of time, efforts has been put in making all these sessions. All these are the Scrum Masters with their own job and things like that. So I really appreciate everyone who come and participated. So thanks once again.
Thank you, Sunand. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunandan.
Thank you, Sunandan. Priyanka.
Thank you, Sunandan. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Priyanka.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.